I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 128. We're back. We've been off for a few weeks. We experimented with doing our weekly reviews in podcast form. And because you demanded it, we're back in video form. We've had a lot of new subscribers over the last few weeks and a lot of positive comments, people stating that they're so glad they found our video reviews, that they're new to comics, and we're really helping them choose the good stuff. So we couldn't abandon you. We couldn't just stop doing the videos. So we're going to continue with our weekly video reviews. For those of you that are new to the show, we are from the comic book store Alter Ego Comics in Lima, Ohio. And every week we read a giant stack of comics. We come back and give you our recommendations on the ones we think you should be reading. Occasionally we'll throw in some comic book news and miscellaneous other things, but there's a lot to focus on this week as far as new comics, so we'll get right to it. First up is Infinity #1. This is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Jim Chung, and it's the first of a 6-issue miniseries. You know exactly what it is by looking at the first page, which says a Marvel Comics event on the inside. And it really feels like an event. There's a lot of weight to this book, and not just because it's an oversized $4.99 comic book, but there's a lot to digest. There's a lot to take in, and it's really set up as this sprawling epic. It involves the Avengers. It involves the Inhumans, Thanos, the world creators from Hickman's Avengers storyline. It just feels mighty. It feels mighty and huge. And it was definitely a very solid first issue. Like many first issues, we don't always know exactly what's going on, but it definitely, I'll say it again, it has an epic feel to it. And I hope that the momentum continues. I hope that Hickman and Chung deliver on this Marvel event. And so far, I'm in. I thoroughly enjoyed the first issue.
And if you're in Mark's age group, you may be interested to know it also features the Space Knights.
Yeah. But Rom's not there, so...
No. Well, Rom wasn't... It has a tie-in to the Annihilators storyline, which also featured the Space Knights, and it does have Icon, who is the Space Knight in the Annihilators. So there
huge
you go.
Cast of characters. I mean, it's a huge cast of characters. It's like watching the North and the South, for those of you that remember that miniseries from the 1980s.
I was going to go with It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, but your way works too.
Yeah, mine
Big
works
cast.
better than yours.
Next up, in the vein of epic, we have Thor, God of Thunder, #11. This is the last part of the God Bomb storyline, sort of the conclusion of the arc that's been going since the first issue of the new Marvel Now Thor. And it is awesome. We've told you every month that Thor, God of Thunder is one of our favorite books, and it continues to be. This story had a great payoff. I don't know what else to say. Without going into the specifics of the story, it managed to pay off large, epic action and also have quiet character moments and wrap it all up in a ball and sit Thor off into the next part of his story. And just, I apologize, Jason Aaron, for the bad things I've said about you before. You've still written things I didn't like, but now I believe it was not because you're incapable, just because you chose to write things I wasn't going to like. But Thor, God of Thunder was amazing.
Universally loved. If you have the opportunity to pick this up at your local store or at our store, you should come in and absolutely do it. Or wait, the first volume is out, collecting the first half of this God Bomb story. It is just, again, so epic. Epic is the word of the week. We're going to use that a lot, I think.
Thor God Bomb. If you have the means, I highly recommend it.
Recommend it.
It is so choice.
The end of it really felt like we were wrapping up the first movie in a series. The way that we got, it felt like the end of, it felt like the end of one of the Lord of the Rings movies, where it just kind of, so good. Thor, God of Thunder is awesome and epic. Next up for me is Deadpool #14. This is by Brian Posehn and Jerry Dugan with artwork by Scott Koblish, and this is the second part of the White Man storyline. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because sometimes I forget how much fun this book is. This is, without a doubt, the most humor-filled book that Marvel is doing right now. Although I hear Superior Foes of Spider-Man is a close second, but I haven't read either of those issues that are out. It is just so funny. I mean, laugh out loud moments, and it's just one-liners. You can tell that you've got a comedian involved in the writing here because the jokes are quick. It's one-line throw-off jokes, and they make me smile, they make me laugh. As a longtime Marvel reader, this should be on everyone's list. If you're looking for humor and kind of goofy fun to get away from some of the heavy stuff like Infinity and other heavy Marvel books. So Deadpool is so much fun. It's been great from the beginning. 14 issues with the same writers is a rarity these days. So thank you, gentlemen, for sticking around and making me laugh month in and month out.
Next up, we've got Red Sonja number 2 from Dynamite. This is the Red Sonja series written by Gail Simone with art by Walter Giovanni? With art by Walter.
From the Muppets?
Yes, Walter from the Muppets. Jason Segel's going to be there, too. This is the second issue of Gail Simone, Red Sonja, which I just said. And we really loved the first issue, and I actually liked this issue even better. What I especially liked about it was a lot of times when you're dealing with comic book arcs, you get a story arc written for a 6-issue trade. And while this isn't the end of Sonja's arc, I mean, we get reintroduced to the character in 2 issues. We've been reintroduced to the character. We've been introduced to the people that she's fighting with, set up this epic battle, and then in this issue we have the conclusion of that battle or the resolution of the battle. And, you know, it's just thing after thing. The story moves along at a great pace, but it still has time for cool character moments. And it's just so much fun. It's a really well-written kind of classic sword and sorcery story that brings in elements I did not see coming. So
I must say I'm disappointed in our sales numbers on Red Sonja number 1. I thought that more of you would be interested to see what Gail Simone would do with the character of Red Sonja. You are missing out if you're not checking it out. We do have plenty of copies of number 1 still available. We may be one of the only stores in the country that still has first prints of Red Sonja number 1 available. So you really should check it out, especially those of you that are into sword and sorcery, D&D, stuff like that. And even if you're not, and I'm not, trust me, I am really enjoying Red Sonja with Simone at the helm. Next up for me is Ghosted number 2 from Image Comics. This is written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Goran Sudzuka, and this is just a really neat story. You've got a master thief who has been hired by a wealthy person to steal a ghost from a haunted house. So there you go. There's your plot, or your story in a nutshell. It's kind of like Ocean's 11. They've assembled a team of experts. You've got a magician. You've got 2 brothers that are like ghost hunters. You've got a naysayer, so you've got your devil's advocate there. You've got the heavy. You've got the person with the gun, the person to protect everyone who actually is working directly with the wealthy person. And you've got a psychic who may or may not be everything she appears to be. I'm really digging it. The first issue was incredibly solid. This one is great too. Another really great book from Image Comics, and this is from Skybound. This is Robert Kirkman's imprint over at Image, and Kirkman, of course, does The Walking Dead and Invincible. You should check it out. I think we still have copies of number 1. In fact, I know we do. So now we have number 1 and number 2. Come get them.
And next up this week, we have Saga number 13. Saga's back. Saga's back. Oh, dear lordy, Saga is back. Thank you, Brian K. Vaughan.
Thank you. Good night.
For bringing back Saga. This issue did a wonderful job of being an easy pickup because it does recount everything important you need to know in the series, but it's also a continuation of the story. I was going to say of the saga, but it's that too, I suppose. And it does not disappoint, just like every issue of Saga. You've got great character moments, good humor, and this one did an especially good job of kind of touching base with everyone and making you remember, because it's been 3 months since you got an issue, the status of all the players in our game. And even though, because of the way the issue is structured and the fact that it's recapping things, the plot doesn't actually move forward. It fills in things that we missed the first time around that I thought were really cool.
It's so great to have Saga back. As I was reading this last night, I was just... Brian, no one writes like Brian K. Vaughan in comics. There's a reason that he's one of the best writers in comics, and there's a reason that he's branched out into TV and film. For those of you that don't know, he's executive producing and writing Under the Dome on CBS. He's a former writer on the TV show Lost, but he started in comics and has done so much great work, including Y the Last Man, Ex Machina, Pride of Baghdad, and now Saga. Fiona Staples' artwork is outstanding as always. And it's just the way that it flows, the dialogue, the characters. There is nothing like Saga on the stands, and we love it. Next up for me, just a quick blurb about X-Files, Season 10, Number 3. For those of you that weren't aware, the X-Files is continuing in comic book form, overseen by show creator Chris Carter. and written by Joe Harris, much like Buffy the Vampire Slayer continues over at Dark Horse Comics, kind of executive produced by Joss Whedon. So it's nice to have the show creator involved in the storytelling, and this really makes me want to go back and watch The X-Files. It's been years since I've watched The X-Files, and I think I bailed out before the show ended, but now I want to go back and watch those, Season 8, Season 9, to refresh my memory. Lots of the X-Files characters from the show are involved in this. Of course, the two most prominent being Dana Scully and Fox Mulder. I think that Joe Harris has captured the voice of these characters. He's really captured the feel of the comic, or I'm sorry, of the show. The artwork is a little on the rough side, but you still know who the characters are. It's tough adapting a TV show or a movie to comic form from an artist standpoint. I'm not an artist, but I'm guessing it is. You have to capture their likenesses and things like that. So if I had to ding it a little bit, it would be for that. But other than that, I've looked forward to every issue of the X-Files, and I'm curious to see where this goes.
Next off, we've got Part 4 of Trinity War, the Justice League of America issue number 7. This is written by Jeff Johns with art by Doug Mahnke, and I guess co-written by Jeff Lemire this time around.
Yes, it is.
No, it's Johns' book. How did Lemire? I guess
no, it's not Johns'. Well, I don't know.
League of America is Johns' book. Anyway,
they tried to find everyone named Jeff to be involved.
Just get them all in there. This picks up from the end of the Justice League Dark issue 2 weeks ago, and rolls the story forward. I don't know if you haven't picked up Trinity War because you've got event fatigue or because you're not crazy about the New 52. You're wrong. They've done an amazing job of bringing together a huge cast of characters into a story that makes sense and actually reveals things and brings us more into the DC universe. And I especially like the characterization of some of the minor characters. I mean, really, Superman's borderline incapacitated at this point. Batman and Wonder Woman are split up with different teams, and so you see a lot of the lower characters, the characters that are secondary or tertiary characters, even in one of the sub-books, and they get their moment to shine. You get good little character moments with them, and I think it's a textbook example of how to write a great crossover that's fulfilling and moves the story forward.
It is a crossover in the truest sense of the word. For everything that Josh said, a lot of times in crossovers, you'll only, like in Justice League of America, we would maybe only see the Justice League of America.
Right.
But because the teams are split up and you've got all three Justice Leagues involved, you're seeing everybody in every issue. Well, not everybody, but you really get that feel. I have to reiterate that if you're not reading this and you're a DC fan, you are missing out. I know that DC has hit a rough patch lately with some of their stories, with some editorial interference perhaps, and people have grown weary of the New 52 to some degree. This is definitely a shot of adrenaline into the DC New 52 universe, and I am enjoying the heck out of it. And it's leading up to Forever Evil, which is the big DC event. It's a 7-issue miniseries written by Jeff Johns with art by David Finch and involving the villains. Basically, at the end of Trinity War, we're led to believe that there are no more Justice Leagues at the end of Trinity War. So you might not want to miss it. Finally, let's talk about Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers, written and drawn by Howard Chaykin. And this is from Hermes Press. It's not a mainstream big publisher, but it caught my attention because of Howard Chaykin's involvement. Chaykin has hit kind of a resurgence in his career, I think. He really rose to fame in the, I want to say, late 70s, early 80s with his creator-owned book, American Flag. But he also did work for Marvel and DC. And he's back again doing work for lots of different publishers. He's doing the artwork on Satellite Sam with Matt Fraction. He's done some Avengers storylines with Brian Michael Bendis. And now, as I said, he's writing and drawing. He's involved with Dynamite. He was involved with The Shadow for a little while. His interpretation of Buck Rogers is unlike anything that I've seen in my 40 years on this earth. But I understand that it's more of a throwback to the original strips that came out in the 1920s and 30s, maybe. I may be overshooting that, but going backwards in time. But I'm really digging it. Basically, I'm bringing this up to people who are fans of Buck Rogers, whether it's the TV show, whether it's the original comic material, or the serials that came out in the 1940s. It really has a different feel, again, unlike a lot of stuff that's on the stands today. And this is going to sound like I'm in love with the man, but Howard Chaykin's artwork is really I'm truly enjoying it. I mentioned in the podcast last week when we were talking about Satellite Sam that I think Chaykin is at his best when he's not drawing recognizable characters. If he's drawing the Avengers, he has a very, very unique art style. Everyone's very square-jawed. A lot of the men look the same. His women are very beautiful. But when he's drawing familiar characters, sometimes things don't look right. And so since we're dealing with Buck Rogers, but he's not drawing Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray from the TV show. He's drawing his own interpretation of Buck Rogers and Will Madeira.
He's drawing Dominic Fortune as Buck Rogers.
Yeah, kind of sort of. Everybody's Dominic Fortune or Rick Flag. So, but just a shout out to those of you that are Buck Rogers fans. There is a new Buck Rogers book on the stands, written and drawn by Howard Chaykin, and you should check it out. That's it. Huge week. We blew through a lot of different things, and that's just part of the stuff that came out this week. So head out to your local comic book store, and if that's us, we hope to see you soon at Alter Ego Comics. Again, I want to thank everybody for leaving positive feedback and comments about the episodes. If you do have any questions related to comics or retail or the weather, Lima, I don't know, anything, feel free to post those below, and we will definitely get to them. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.